Hello, ladies and gentlemen, CaptainShack here, and welcome back to Space Engineers. Specifically, this is a build that I did, a one-day build for a really quick shot in the latest episode of Stellaris. Now, this isn't a live recording. I'm actually doing the voiceover after I had built the build. Now, the concept behind this is I'm going to be building the Corvette from Stellaris. There's a shot of it there. And it's the smallest ship in Stellaris. Now, we're going to be seeing this played back at about, I don't know, I think it's like 500 times the speed. It was a one-day build. I needed to get it done in a couple of hours, but the main goal here is to make a prop, and to make something that actually flies, that looks like the Corvette that I've been building, the class of ship, the Raptor class Corvette design that we've been using in the Stellaris campaign. Now, I started off by drawing a 2D kind of outline of it, looking at it from the left-hand side, or the port side. This is going to be the middle section, the middle bricks of the ship itself, and then I've mirrored it. That's what the blue line is. So everything that I build left and right, of course, will just be mirrored on the left and right-hand side. Now, what you're seeing in the background and what you saw early on flying about, it kind of looks like a Federation shuttlecraft from Star Trek. I threw that sucker on autopilot just to give the background a little bit of life. So throughout this sped up footage, you may see that thing circling the dry dock that I've built here. The dry dock is a build that I made quite a long time ago for an original Space Engineers series that we were going to do that we never actually used. I ended up using it for the group's revival. So what you see right now is I'm putting down a couple of rotors. These are my marks for where I think the turrets are going to go. If you actually look at the Raptor class Corvette that we're making here, it has a small turret in the front, and it's the only Corvette design that you've got here with a medium turret on the back. And the medium turret is this bulbous, monstrous just gun turret on the back end. Now, I don't end up using this turret as you see it here. It didn't come out too bad. The small turret has a rocket in the center, and that's where its actual firepower comes from. I want this thing to be functional, but it's really only going to be in the Stellaris series as a quick shot, so it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm also limited on time. This is going to be a one-day build. I had an issue, for some reason, with Space Engineers deciding that it was just no longer going to run properly, and it dropped down from like 60 FPS to 5, and that was me restarting it. Now, one of the things that I had the biggest trouble with, and you'll see in this build that I went back and forth with, was trying to get the colors right. The actual colors of the ship are these smaller tones of blue lights that kind of glow from underneath the armor plating. And then you've got the orange metal, worn metal, which is something that's kind of hard to match in Space Engineers because everything is so clean-lined. And then you've got the almost yellowish, whitish, like off-color armor plating itself. Now, I hope you guys enjoy this one-day build. I'm thinking about doing more of these, not just for Stellaris, but just for random ships that I come up with. Now, the challenge here is I can't spend a week or so like I normally would going for a lot of detail. There, I see I'm putting on heavy armor now to see if I can get a little bit more detail out of the bricks. Try to give it that worn look. I ended up not going with this. I didn't like it. The camo patterns just look strange and don't really match, so I ended up replacing it with another version of yellow. And now I'm filling out the bottom sections of the hull, trying to draw out how the armor plating kind of overlaps itself and how there's a little bit of depth there with the smaller bits, the other armored bits like behind it. Like you see the blue back there. That's me trying to get that blue glow going. And I had the idea even at this point that I was going to put some lighting in there and try to give off a blue glow, like there's more behind the scenes going on. Now, this isn't, of course, to scale. The Corvettes in Stellaris, if you're looking at the actual window size, if, say, those are people-sized windows, it's huge. It is massive for a ship. And bear in mind, these are the smallest ships. And if I do build, and I probably will, the Destroyer class out of the Stellaris campaign, I'll probably end up going all the way to the battleship, then these are going to be big ships. I think the next class, the Destroyer, may not even fit within this dry dock if I try to keep these to scale, so we'll see what happens. I'm filling out the back end. Now, I've already put the wings on the back, which were actually fairly easy. I thought they would give me a lot more trouble. I had this idea of using a rotor to try to get the angle just right, but rotors and wings, that's when you start running into trouble in Space Engineers, but it actually worked out great with the angle. I threw in a quad reactor setup using a conveyor in the very center. That's where all the power is coming from. I've now got all the lights placed. I tried to place them all at once, grouped them up together, and then slid the lighting effect around to get that nice blue, dark blue glow with the light blue background. It gives a nice glow. Direct sunlight it's actually a really light blue, and you can tell, but when you're on the shaded side, it gives it that nice kind of rich glow. I like that. All right, I'm messing around now with the rear turret. Now, like I said before, it's got a big box turret on it. If you look at the image, and I'll put it up on the screen here, the rear gun is this gnarly looking giant box, and there's no way to make that look like it really belongs there. I brought it up to, what, 3 blocks high at one point, then I shaved it down, still didn't like it, brought it back up. For the small turret in the front, I hated how I was using the, what were those, like pillars to use as turrets, so I ended up using a couple of torn down beacons to give it that small turret look. It still fires, it's got a rocket launcher right in the center, and then the rear turret actually has twin large rocket launchers. I'm setting up a bridge, something a little haphazard, a bunch of LCD screens, a little bit of lighting so it looks decent. I've got the access to the reactor, which is actually built into the roof. Threw on a couple of docking bay doors and then airlocks. I love the newer doors now. It's so much easier to make an airlock. And that was pretty much it for it. I have this policy when I'm making a ship, and that is the ship, there she goes. The ship has to work in Space Engineers. I don't like to turn off the thruster damage and then just fly around. So we're gonna bring the timing back down to normal time. So it's no longer time-lapsed, and let's go ahead and launch our newest ship, the Corvette. This probably took me, I'd say maybe 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours to put this thing together. Not too shabby. Get the camera situated. You can still see the shuttle, the Federation shuttle and autopilot flying around, but I think she came out pretty well for a one-day quick build. I mean, you can definitely tell what she was. When I finished this, I took a screenshot of it. I had just finished it, and I put it up on Wasted Space's live stream. And immediately, I didn't say what it was, didn't even introduce it, just dropped it on there, and somebody immediately said, "Holy crap, Shaq, is that the Corvette from your Let's Play?" So that was the response I was hoping to get. The thrusters are actually painted blue to kind of match that border that the ship actually has. We've got the wings on there. Everything matches pretty well. It even has the twin engines on the back, which are the only obvious engines that you see from the artwork that I've actually, the screenshots that I've actually taken pictures of. The turrets themselves will rotate. They'll rotate all the way around without hitting each other, and the guns themselves work. Though in Space Engineers, having them rotate without having them have any type of vertical climb makes them fairly useless. I mean, you can broadside someone with it, you can turn it left and right, so I guess that's kind of cool. You can always rotate the ship, but I think the turrets came along pretty well. So guys, if you have an idea for a one-day build like this, where I spend a couple of hours throwing together a ship and seeing how close I can come to representing that ship in Space Engineers, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on what I should build. I like the challenge of, okay, here's an image, here's a ship from 3 or 4 angles like you saw in this video. How quickly can you put something together that actually kind of matches it? And the trick is, works in Space Engineers. All this thing really needs, and I'll put a link in the description so you guys can actually download it if you want to play around with it. All this really needs, I think, is some piping for the conveyors, and the conveyor hookups are already there, and she'd be good to go. And she's pretty maneuverable. She's got 4 gyroscopes, which is well more than she needs. And she'll flip around pretty quickly. The only problem that I have with it is, well, the forward thrust is only 2 engines, as the model that we've seen has, and the braking power is kind of weak. But she does have pretty good thrust on the left, the port, and the starboard side, and she's got decent climb thrust because I've been able to hide more engines in the bottom. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel for more gaming, modding, and sci-fi goodness. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.